Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Wednesday, the Leading Change episode, this week with Aria Omidvar. Hey Aria, welcome back.
Hi Vasco, and happy Wednesday.
Absolutely, happy Wednesday indeed, everybody. So, leading change, quite a big responsibility we have, but we do have it because as Scrum Masters, we are, of course, change agents. Aria, tell us a story of a change process you were involved with and walk us through the process of how that change unfolded. And then as you go through that, highlight for us the tools, the tips, the tricks, and the techniques you learned back then that you still apply today.
Sure, I'll gladly do that. However, I just noticed that this is the third day and the third episode of our conversations. And again, I have a very painful scenario. It's not that painful, but it's just that most of the learnings are from the things that went wrong. So, I mean, it's a more expensive learning. It's a finer and more rare kind of information because everyone talks about their successes. But here's the story. I joined a company and they had a software organization that was shaped of 5 teams. And around 2 months after they hired me, they started, let's say we started a kind of an agile transformation. There were a bunch of stuff that really needed to change. And the management did feel that we really need to turn this ship around. That was a sentiment I absolutely shared with them. And so we started this multi-layer transformation. It had so many things: infrastructure, architecture, career development, new roles like engineering managers, and some reorganization. And it was really proper, as you would call it.
A big bang transformation.
It was. And that was one of the things that was wrong about it. But I'm going to talk about that a bit later.
So for the record, I'm really curious about why this big bang transformation failed. And I think we need to learn how that was. But for the record, they can also succeed. So just to give hope to those listening that are in the middle of a big bang transformation, it is possible. It just doesn't happen all the time. So go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I would love to, I mean, not probably in this conversation, but I would love to hear about your stories of them going right. As I told you, there were several simultaneous initiatives, if you call them, and it was, let's face it, very top down. It was driven from management and not so welcome by the people on the ground, let's say, in the trenches. And the thing with this was that after around 6 months, we had very visible symptoms that it was not going well. We had a higher turnover than usual. We had lower morale than usual. We had lower engagement than usual. And we had, just like before, low output and outcome. And at this point, I was really beating myself to see what went wrong. I know one thing I did wrong that I should take responsibility for. I cannot take responsibility for everything, but there were definitely 2 things that I did wrong. One of them was I wanted to do some kind of a Scrum/Agile training for these teams. I wanted to do it for each team at once, so one team at a time. However, the management at that time did not like the idea. He was like, we don't have this much time. And unfortunately, I gave in to his demand and I held this training for an audience larger than 40 people. And it was definitely one of the biggest mistakes I've ever done. And this was an organization that had a rather high level of politics and resistance. I had no idea at that point. It was maybe in third month that I was there. That was a big mistake that I did. I will never make that mistake again. And another thing was that after doing that Scrum training, let's call it, I actually had to rebrand it because the word Scrum had a lot of resistance. So I had to call it the working patterns of agile teams. Yeah, I know I'm good for marketing, but still it didn't really work. So the thing is, after that lecture, I mean, it was a series of lectures. Let's face it, you cannot make interactive workshops when you have 40 plus people in your. I would answer their questions and stuff, but that was it. I would join each team for a period of time and try to make it work, like to see how they have adopted that and stuff. And again, my assumption was that I am wanted in each team. That was also a wrong assumption, especially with
Tell me a little
teams.
bit more about that. How did you come to that conclusion?
So I mean, my conclusion was, so this is the way I always see the world. I'm a Scrum Master. I want to help people to do better work and feel better about their work. So not just it's like making better products and feeling better at work while doing that. And I thought, I mean, who doesn't like this? Who in their sane mind wouldn't embrace a person called a Scrum Master? And I was just wrong. There was a lot of prejudice about Scrum Masters, about agility.
Was that in Germany, by the way?
It is, yes. It was in Germany. Yeah.
That's an interesting. I have seen the same pattern in Germany quite often, that somehow an external titled, I guess, named methodology is adopted. Like, we'll do Scrum, but we can't call it Scrum. We'll just call it Acme Inc. Professional Software Development Process, right?
Okay.
And I have seen that pattern a lot. And since you live in Germany, I don't know if you've seen that elsewhere also in Germany, but I'm interested in your take. Do you have any insights now, after these years of experience, do you have any insights as to why this happens, at least in my experience, more often in Germany than elsewhere?
So to be honest, I don't have that much exposure to companies in Germany. I don't read. This was the largest software organization I ever worked with. So what I can tell you about this particular software organization, many of these developers, either this was their first job. I mean, some of them had been there for years, but still they hadn't seen anything else. And there was never any flavor of agility in this organization, the way I could see it. And some of them had worked maybe in one or two other places, but little to no exposure to real Scrum or agility. So these were people who really didn't really know what to expect. And it was also a full remote company. So that definitely made it more difficult. Like, many people, when they in the offsite saw me in person and talked with me in person over lunch talk, they were like, now I understand what you were saying. So I mean, that's my take on this.
Yeah, and it's that interaction is also very important, right? If it's only a training, it goes in one ear, comes out the other, and it doesn't really affect people very much.
Exactly. And if anyone wants to have tiny takeaways from this, I would say, whatever you're going to do, in my eyes, one major change at a time. 5 parallel initiatives, not a good idea in my experience. Treat the bleeding, not the bruises. If this organization is lacking on output or outcome, find where it is bleeding and not instead of treating the bruises. People first. I mean, if you want to call it bottom up, I don't know. Gary Hamel doesn't have a good idea about the word bottom up because it implies that there is an up and there is a bottom. There's a top and a bottom, and I also disagree. I also agree with him. But if you like it, bottom up or people first, really get to the people in the trenches and see what is their pain points. And result oriented. Every month you have to be able to check with your North Star, am I getting closer to that? I actually do have a more extended list of techniques and tools that later I used for this, but I think we're running out of time for this episode.
No, and of course you can send that to me and I'll add that to the show notes for people that want to dive a little bit more. And
Sure.
Stay tuned for Friday when Aria shares how you can contact
Thursday.
you. Yeah, but Thursday is tomorrow. But on Friday, we will talk about how people can contact you and ask follow-up questions. And
oh, yes. Sorry, I jumped in too early.
No worries. No worries. All right. Hey, Aria, great story, scary story, but big bang changes usually are, but also with lots of insights. So thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role. We'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.